Hey, imagine you've just saved a weekend of tinkering and you're staring at a pile of MDF, wood, or acrylic, wondering whether the CNC router you just saw on Amazon will actually cut straight lines without you having to recalibrate every hour. I get that hesitation. Spending a few $100 on a machine that could end up gathering dust or, worse, ruining your material, is a real risk. The link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. In the next few minutes I'm going to walk through what the Genmitsu PROVerXL 4030S actually brings to the table, who will get the most bang for their buck, and where the compromises lie, so you can decide before you click. First off, the PROVerXL is positioned as a desktop-size CNC router that's big enough to handle small to medium projects. Think signage, custom keychains, hobby-grade furniture parts, or even light prototyping for electronics enclosures. What makes it stand out in this crowded crowd is the integrated 2.2 kilowatts water-cooled spindle and a purpose-built aluminum spindle holder that claims to keep the motor quiet and stable under sustained use. If you've ever tried a DIY router that overheated after 10 minutes, that will feel like a relief. The water cooling system is a practical shift. You hook up a small reservoir, a pump, and a hose, then the spindle stays within a comfortable temperature envelope, which translates into longer cutting runs without the motor throttling down. Now, who should seriously consider this machine? If you're a maker who already owns a set of design files, perhaps you're into laser cut art or you've dabbled with 3D printing and want to add a subtractive process, this router slots in nicely. The 710W rating on the spindle gives it enough torque to bite into hardwood up to about 15 mm thick without stalling, which is a sweet spot for hobbyists who make things like wooden puzzles, decorative panels, or small furniture components. The plug-and-play control box removes the need to wrestle with variable frequency drives, VFDs, or separate motor controllers. You just connect power, the water line, and the USB cable to your PC, and the software takes over. That simplicity is a real time saver if you're not a wiring specialist. On the flip side, if you're looking to produce large-scale parts, say a full-size cabinet door or a boat hull component, the PROVerXLs travel 400 mm on the Z-axis, 300 mm on the Y-axis, and 45 mm on the Z-axis will quickly feel limiting. It's also not a budget-only entry point. The price sits in the mid-range for hobby CNCs, so if you're just testing the waters and have a tight budget, you might be better off with a smaller, less capable kit and upgrade later. Another group to skip would be those who need extreme precision for aerospace or medical parts. This router's positioning tolerances are fine for decorative work but won't meet the sub 0.01 mm repeatability that those industries demand. From a day-to-day usability standpoint, the biggest strength is the stability of the frame. The machine is built on an aluminum extrusion base with reinforced crossbars, which reduces the typical wobble you see on cheaper Chinese routers when the spindle hits harder material. I've watched a couple of vloggers set one up on a kitchen countertop, then run it for an hour cutting a series of nested wooden badges, and the whole unit didn't vibrate enough to rattle loose any bolts. That kind of rigidity means you can trust the first pass to be close to the final cut, lowering the need for a second pass to clean up errors. The quietness of the water-cooled spindle is another practical win. In a shared workshop or an apartment where you might have neighbors down the hall, the motor's noise sits around 55 dB, which is comparable to a normal conversation. Compare that to air-cooled spindles that can hit 70 dB or more when they're pushing hard. The water cooling not only keeps the motor from screaming, it also prevents the thermal shutdowns that force you to pause and let the spindle cool. The only trade-off is the extra plumbing. You need a small reservoir, a pump, and a hose that you'll have to monitor and refill occasionally. Most users find that a modest 1-liter tank is enough for a typical weekend project, but it does add a bit of maintenance overhead. When it comes to the software side, the included control box runs GRBL firmware, which is widely supported by open-source CAM packages like Fusion 360, VCarve, and Lightburn. That ecosystem means you're not locked into a proprietary slicer, and you can tweak feed rates, spindle speeds, and toolpaths to match the material you're cutting. The learning curve isn't trivial, but if you've already done any CNC work, you'll recognize the standard code commands. For absolute beginners, the lack of a guided wizard might be a stumbling block, but there are plenty of community tutorials that walk you through the basic setup. Let's talk about the practical limitations that often get glossed over in the marketing copy. The PROVerXL spindle runs at a maximum of 24,000 revolutions per minute, which is great for fine engraving on soft materials, but if you